Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is another week, therefore it is now another edition of Rank the Movies. This week we are looking at a single actor. Last week I talked about wrestlers in movies, and I talked about great movies featuring pro wrestlers, or movies I really enjoy featuring pro wrestlers, but there was one I basically left out. I left out the actor himself, the wrestling movie he was in. There's one instance I talked, and it'll be on this list, that I actually did cover him, and that is the actor Tiny Lister Jr. Tiny Lister is a professional wrestler. He worked for both the World Wrestling Federation in the late 80s and World Championship Wrestling in the mid-90s. But he is so much more than that, and he's remembered for so many more movies. We'll get to his wrestling stint in a little bit, but first let's talk about some of the more prominent roles this man has played and some of the bigger movies he's been in. To start with, I'm going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop, where he played the role of Orvis. Now, for most of these, I'm going to be sticking a photo of him from the movie in there, but I couldn't find one. This is a really small role for him. I love Beverly Hills Cop 2, so I decided to include it anyways. I have no information of what he did in this movie, who he played, or anything like that. So we're just going to move past this one fairly quickly to our next one, which is Austin Powers in Goldmember, where he played prisoner number 2. He is in the big musical number inside the prison with Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. That is his role in this movie. I think he's got 1 or 2 lines. There's not a lot else he does in this movie, but it's a pretty memorable role. I mean, it's Austin Powers, so, you know, check it out, baby. Next up, we have Debo from Next Friday. This is, of course, a sequel to Friday. We'll get to Friday in a little bit, but he reprised the role of Debo for Next Friday, and really he kind of brought this role to his own kind of ideal and light. That makes sense. Of course, in this one, Debo is escaping from prison and trying to get back at Ice Cube's character. It's a pretty decent, it's an alright movie, I guess. I mean, if you're watching the Friday franchise, go right ahead. You'll enjoy him. Next up, we have him as the gas station attendant in Santa's Sleigh. Of course, we touched on this one last week, with Bill Goldberg being in this movie as well. Basically, Tiny Lister plays a gas station attendant. He's there, he has running Cassius hit in the face with a shovel. It's a really funny movie. I enjoy it. If I ever do a Sandler list, it's gonna be good. But it's a good time. Tiny Lister is good in this movie. Next up, we have The Fifth Element, where he plays Greenberg. That's right, Tiny Lister created the president. Yeah, this big burly dude played the president in The Fifth Element. Of course, in that movie, he's the president. He is trying to not let the world die, not let the world be destroyed by this oncoming threat, and is basically just kind of dumbfounded by everything that's going on. It's a really great role in a really good movie. If you've never seen The Fifth Element, it is such a good film. Definitely check it out. Next up is one of his more iconic roles, and that is as the tattooed prisoner in The Dark Knight. That's right, Tiny Lister has been in The Fifth Element, he's been in Little Nicky, he's been in The Dark Knight, he's been in the Beverly Hills Cops movies, he's been in Quentin Tarantino films. This guy is everywhere, but in The Dark Knight, he plays one of the prisoners on the prison boat towards the end of the movie. In fact, he plays the one that takes the detonator and throws it out the window because the guard, the warden of that boat, doesn't have the balls to do it himself. That is Tiny Lister Jr., and that's why he's a great actor, because he does that role, he owns that role, and you remember that he is in that role. Next, of course, we have Debo in Friday. This is probably his most memorable role with general fans. As Debo, he was the neighborhood ruffian, the tough in the neighborhood that Ice Cube and Chris Tucker are living on in this movie, who beats people up for their bikes. He threatens to kill people. He steals. There's a lot of stuff Debo does that is just a really jerky thing. This is, like I said, this is the role Tiny Lister is most remembered for, and that's why it's towards the top of this list. But it does not make the top of our list today, because the top of the list is, of course, the movie where he wrestles. And that is No Holds Barred as the monster Zeus. This movie also features Hulk Hogan. Now, really, I've covered a lot of Tiny Lister movies, and I've shot through them pretty quickly. Just because his own role in a lot of them are so small, it's hard to talk about the whole movie. But this one, his role isn't small. So, Hulk Hogan plays Rip, the World Wrestling Federation champion. And apparently in this world, Rip can work for whatever network he wants, and that's the network that gets to run his matches. It's not just you work for the World Wrestling Federation and they air your matches. There's a rival television company that wants to have Rip's matches. Rip tells them no. So they begin a new competition called the Battle of the Tough Guys, pitting tough guys against each other for a large cash prize. Zeus shows up, beats the crap out of all the tough guys, and becomes the champion of the Battle of the Tough Guys. Zeus then decides he wants to go after Rip because, well, he's told to go after Rip. And Zeus does so, and they have a huge no-holds-barred fight at the end of the match where Rip fights Zeus. And of course Rip wins because it's Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, ran wild, all that. Zeus fails. This movie is amazing. I love this movie. This movie is the definition of funny ha-ha when it comes to movies. It is just so weird and so poorly done and written that you just enjoy every minute of it you watch. And you just understand why people enjoy this movie from watching it. It is such a good piece of film. And the weirdest part of this movie, the weirdest thing is, Tiny Lister Jr., not a professional wrestler. He was an actor. Never was trained as a wrestler. So in 1987, I believe, or 1986, the year the movie came out, they brought Tiny Lister in to the WWF to feud with Hulk Hogan. The man wrestled at 2 pay-per-views, and this wasn't back like nowadays. They do a pay-per-view every month. So he wrestled at 2 pay-per-views. He was there for 2 months. No. This was back in the day. They did 4 pay-per-views a year, meaning he wrestled at 2 of them. He was there for half a damn year. Being Zeus, not being trained on wrestling. All he did was choke people and do big chops. It is hilarious. And this movie came out on pay-per-view. The movie Steel Cage match between Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Zeus and the Macho Man Randy Savage. They put so much in the idea of Zeus. They considered having Hogan versus Zeus the main event of WrestleMania. This man, Tiny Lister, almost headlined WrestleMania as Zeus. This guy is awesome. This guy has an awesome career. And that's why I wanted to spend a video talking about him. Because it is awesome, he is awesome, watch his movies, they are fun, they're interesting films, and and he does a good job at all of them he does. Definitely check out some Tiny Lister the next time you're free. Alright, well, that's what I'll have to talk to you guys about today. A little bit about Tiny Lister. Hopefully you learned something from him today. If you have any comments, please drop them at the bottom. Hit subscribe if you want to see more. Like this video so I know I should keep making this crap, and we will see you next time. Next time we start my longest series to date. That's right. I'm going to take the next 2.5 months. 2.5 months. And I'm going to talk about a movie and its remake. That's right. I'm going to be comparing a movie to its remake for the next 2.5 months. And we are starting where everyone should start, but I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret because it is such a weird remake. It is such an unnecessary remake that I don't want to spoil it right now. Come back next week and see that video because it's going to be worth it. Because it is so weird to think there's a classic legendary film on one side, and its remake isn't. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun. So, come back next week. I'll see you then. Until then, get some Tiny Lister movies and do a Tiny Lister-a-thon. If you just watch the scenes he's in, it probably won't take that long. Later.